Okay, I'm going to go live. Yep, we're live. Got it. And Miss Lidia Primavera, you will help me make sure I am showing up where I need to be. So we should be. Give us a second, everybody. When we stream live to YouTube, I don't edit that, but I do edit the audio that goes out to Apple and everywhere else. Okay. So I'm showing that we're live. And there we go. I can see it on my YouTube channel. Okay, good. All right. Okay. Welcome back, everybody. You know who I am, Caroline Beste, founder of the Tao of Horsemanship and Everything Horses and More video library and podcast. And welcome back to two Lydias, Lidia Primavera, my beautiful co-host, and Lidia Kuleshnyk.
Yep, that's it. You got it.
I did. I got it. You know, I can say this. I rehearse it on my own, and it's, I have to say, I say it very well. And then I like freeze when I don't want to mess it up. And I'm like, what is it? Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, welcome back to our series with Lidia Kuleshnyk. Yes. Our series is the Divinity of Horses, and this is part 3. And horses leading us into expanded consciousness. Before we get into this amazing discussion with Lidia, and it's also a continuation of where we left off in part 2, where you're going to continue. I think we were on number 5 of your 12 ancient principles of your high performance wellness coaching. So before we get into all of that, I had shared some emails with Lidia already, both Lydias and our guest speaker, Lidia Kuleshnyk, about having conversations with horses in dreams, and how my late horses have come to me in recently too. And so that's something that we thought I'd share, and Lidia Primavera, my co-host, has a story as well to tell. So we thought we'd start this podcast off with these stories. So if anybody's been to my Facebook page this week, I just posted about my incident with one of my beloved horses on Sunday, Lovey. And so the incident was a colic, and I was taking care of the horses on the weekend. I do have a part-time staffer who does a phenomenal job. This weekend, she'll do the horses in the morning. But anyway, I do most weekends and every night. And Lovey had a mild colic a week before. And I don't know how many of you are aware of or familiar with the different types of colic. It can be so scary. I lost my beloved legend over a year ago to colic, most likely, at the age of 29 or 30. And it was a sudden death. And I've had a ton of experience with horses and colic over the years. And Legend had also been a horse many, many years ago that had colicked frequently because of the type of healing and the process of healing that he was going through when I first got him. And in my education and learning, and in taking him to all these clinics and trailering him around, and I didn't realize, and no one was telling me or teaching me back then, how sensitive he was and all these different changes, and that no one spoke of self-regulation. I was one of the first to come out as a horse trainer, and I say it like that because I think there are a lot of equine therapies out there that are more educated with the equine learning, that understand emotional agility, the psychology of emotional agility with humans and horses. And so I was one of the first to write articles about emotional agility, and because I kept questioning, why is he colicking every time we go to a clinic or we go somewhere different, and there's so much stress. And yes, so Lovey colicked a week ago, and it was mild. And I had a group of students here, and we were having group lessons. And I gave her some Banamine, and I let her out of her stall because she was knocking on her stall. She wanted to be part of the group before we started. Let her out. She free roaming. My horses are like dogs. The rule is you can't be let out unless you're going to stay connected and listen to me. And so if I call you to come back, you must come back, or you lose that privilege. And so she listens. And so she just literally followed us around the other week. And I could tell that she just was ready to go. She could not wait to get back into the work. And I'm not working with anyone. I'm spending most of my time revamping a ton of the materials that I created and relaunching some things. And it's too hot right now. It's just way too hot. So she sprung back and she followed us everywhere last week, and it was fine. This Sunday, she colics again, and it's around 9:30 and close to 10, and I'm getting ready to finish up in the morning, and then I'm going to clean up and go get my mom and bring her home for the day. It did not happen. Close to 10, when I'm getting ready to leave the barn, I'll come back later, she's out there pawing. And so I called the vet. I spent 4 hours hand walking her, preventing her from lying down, preventing her from trying to roll, pawing. She pawed so hard, you guys, for 4 hours because I had to take her everywhere while I was taking care of the horses, and I was sweating, and I was bringing her into the barn in front of the fan. I was trying to do energy work on her. I was doing everything I could. She pawed so hard on the concrete in the barn, she shaved her front hooves completely straight off. So she peeled back, she chipped them, and then she just shaved them off. So, I'm starting to cry. Midway through the 4 hours, I'm exasperated and starting to panic, and it's not getting any better. And I've given her almost a double dose of Banamine in 2 hours. And you can't give them a lot of Banamine because it's bad for their kidneys. Oh boy. So, it's when I started to cry, and I was sobbing. I was leaning into her. And I'm just like, F me, what the hell? Why does this keep happening? I can't take another death. I just lost my Trinity in a matter of a few years. I just, what's the purpose of all of this? I'm questioning everything. I'm like, should I even be doing this? If I lose Lovey, she's my next protege. We're so close. The next, level of horses that I have after my Trinity they mirror my new level of consciousness. They mirror where I am. They are not like my old Trinity. And that's a profound conversation where we can continue these podcasts. I'm not going to finish that today. And I'm going, so I'm getting more anxious, right? I'm getting dizzy. I'm leaning up against her. I'm crying. And then I just go, basically, God damn it, Legend, Smokey, and Sundance, I fucking need you right now. I'm like, please, I need support. I don't need an answer. I just need support. And bam, comes the song on the radio. Just like, bam, it got the last word out of my mouth. And here comes Legend's song for me by Whitney Houston, I'll Always Love You. It's really by Dolly Parton. And she gave permission for Whitney to sing it. And it became a sensation. And I stopped crying. I just felt when that song came on, I was in full-fledged like anxiety, questioning, frothing at the mouth, crying, into my horse. And then I felt that presence of Legend, like I have felt the presence of 2- and 4-legged loved ones come through me and into me. And I just stopped and I just got calm. And I was like, okay, I got this. Thank you. I got this. Like the clarity, like the got this was, I just had clarity, like all that dizziness and feeling overwhelmed and that anxiety attack that I was about to have just dissipated completely. And so good news is we survived the 4 hours until the vet came, and she was wonderful. She was a new vet who was on call. And a couple of things I want to share with everyone that I didn't realize is I had the right kind of electrolytes. You want salt, not sugar, number one. And number two, Lovey just wasn't drinking enough water. So colic can be stress, which it was for Legend and many of my horses back in the day as we were learning and healing together. So we have stress, we have barometric pressure. That's a big one. I've always lived near the water, well, Maryland and now here in Florida. And those barometric 30-degree pressure drops or spikes can cause gas. A lot of vets don't talk about this. These are things I used to ask about that just I was questioning and reading and kind of putting things together back in the day. Now vets are talking more and more about it, that colic can be stress, that colic can be barometric pressure, colic can be gas, colic can be an impaction, obviously. And so Lovey did not have an impaction. She had a nice, healthy, moist pile of manure that morning when she was colicking. And then when the vet came, and of course I wanted Lovey tubed. You want this. You don't just want the vet to come and listen for gut sounds, which her gut sounds were excellent. But she was very extended. You could see the bloat. So I wanted her tubed, and the tubing is both the electrolytes and oil. And then I want her hand to go in her rectum. They'll put a sleeve all the way up to the shoulder, and I want her to feel around and please make sure that all her organs are where they're supposed to be. Because if a horse doesn't have to roll to start twisting, and Lovey could have been twisting the night before, and I would not have known, right, guys? I mean, she could have been colicking that night and then just appeared okay for food and then was colicking again. So you want to make sure all the organs, the spleen, the intestines are where they're supposed to be. And then third, when she puts her hand in there, she's going to feel around for an impaction. She did not feel an impaction. She pulled out more loose, moist stool, but she did find, she calls them hard balls of manure. So Lovey, after she pulled the rest of the remaining moist manure out, Lovey had some, it wasn't impaction, but they were hard balls, enough to upset Lovey. Lovey's very sensitive.
Here we call
So she
them
pulled
rocks.
all those out. What, honey?
Here they're called rocks because they're
I'd never heard of it.
They're like a little river
They
rock.
are.
Just like a river rock.
Yep. It was hard. I'd never heard of that. Nobody had
It's really hard
explained it or
for
showed
them to
that
pass
before.
them. Yes, it's very hard for them.
Yeah. So yes, so she got that out, and then of course we did the tubing, and we're good to go. Now we've got our eye on her, and how to my vets tell me, you don't want to give horses electrolytes. I've had people giving horses down here electrolytes every day. You don't. You want the horse to have a choice. So it's recommended to have a bucket of fresh water in the stall, even though we have automatic waters. For a while I want to monitor as much as I can, and a bucket of electrolytes and let them choose. Now, the next day or two, I did put a half a scoop of electrolytes in her feed, and she wouldn't eat all her feed. So that's just telling you she didn't need it or want it. But this was what's cool. Not only were like the next 12 piles of manure moist, you guys, which is a lot. Wow, that really cleaned her system out. Both Clarissa, my staffer, and I noticed that her urine was the clearest it's ever been. So she's definitely back on track. But you just need to pay attention to that. And Lovey is, for all of you that know Lovey, she is such a super awesome, sensitive horse. But while I was panicking, I'm, beating myself up, and thank God my husband, he came down and he doesn't handle the stress very well. So it stresses him out. So that didn't help in the beginning, but then he came back down and was there the whole time for me and with the vet. And, he's just, it was encouraging, don't take it out on yourself. I'm like, am I causing this? Because I just worry, I don't feel like I am at all, but I just worry because I've had so many situations in the past with my Trinity while we were both healing, and I was going through a divorce, and I lost everything and went bankrupt, and I lost a lot of money that I made with my previous business, and just, it was a horrific situation. And I just started this business with the horses, and it was the most frightening time of my life for many reasons. And each one of my horses, and I had a fourth horse at the time, a little Arab that I ended up selling to one of my clients in Vermont, who I was very attached to, and they just all would colic. They would all take turns colicking at the new location after I separated and was divorcing from my first marriage. And I was so stressed out, and each one mirrored that stress, and I just, that biggest fear in me during my personal growth is not, giving that, projecting or transferring all of the above. I don't want my horses to own my shit. I want them to get to a place, and my Trinity eventually got to that place where they had that healthy level of autonomy from me, because they were so healthy that they didn't take on my pain. And if I understand correctly, too, in my experiences and education about shamans, that the old shamans used to take on the disease or the demon or the pain, and take it on and fight it. And the new shamans don't, like they're just a healthier. Am I correct or no, Lydia?
No, I don't want to interrupt you, but absolutely. Like we never, ever, ever want to take on energy of anyone or anything. I mean, that's, I've done, I don't know, in almost over 30 years, thousands and thousands of Reiki sessions and individual sessions.
Yeah.
And I never, ever take on the cancer or the trauma or anything like that. And I teach my students about that. That's the non-attachment. But you're absolutely right. When I started learning years ago, we were told some of the old masters died young because they would absorb energy. So we're all evolving. And
well, let me share this really horrific story with you. I agree. And I think that the Trinity is my first experience with horses coming back, us both coming back in this life together again. Legend died, and what he told me when he was dying, and Janine is my witness because she was here during this, was that I have to leave now. Now is the only window of time, and I'm taking your husband's cancer with me. I mean, Smokey died at 21, way too young. He had crippling arthritis. Sundance died at 21, advanced Cushing's disease, not crippling arthritis, but also most likely either cancer or of ulcers, because Legend had died, her husband, the year before. I'm like, what is going on here? My fear now is, and I've said this for years to Lovey, Joey. So Joey, when Smokey died, Joey would never hug me. And they were all in the stall as we were saying goodbye before we were going to bury him, put him down and bury Smokey. So it was Smokey and the 3 thoroughbreds, Joey, Lovey, and Blue in there. And Joey was the closest to the door. And I'm closing the door and I'm sobbing because I know we're getting ready to take Smokey to his burial spot on the property. And Joey comes towards me. And I look at him and he tells me, I'm going to take over. I'm going to take over for Smokey. And he leans over the stall and pulls me in and hugs me. Of course, with his jaw, pulls me into the stall door and hugs me. He's never touched me like that in his life. And so I'd had him for 7 years. It's 10 years now. And I knew that he was gonna take a piece of Smokey with him. I would say to my horses, the next tier, Lovey and Blue and Zor and Joey, I'm like, I don't want you to own this. I don't want you to own anything. Please don't put me through this, and don't put yourself through this. It's been a horrific learning curve for me, sharing this journey with the Trinity and them taking so much of my pain. And I feel like when Sundance died, was it devastating? Absolutely. But it was liberating at the same time, because I felt a sense of peace for her and myself, that she kept saying, I don't want to be a burden anymore. And I didn't understand it, but I did when she left, because it's kind of hard to let go of the old way. And they protected me so much for so many years. And now it's my time I don't have to worry about them, getting sick or taking on my pain anymore, and holding that. It's like we got trapped in that vicious cycle and just couldn't break free of that, that dysfunction. I don't know how to say it. It's huge though. And I don't feel it's the same with the new tier of horses, my new family that's been part of that family, but it's like having kids. I don't want to raise you the same way, I want it to be better and different. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't want to, Lydia, anything you want to share? I have anything you want to share from that? Thank you, first of all, Caroline, for that heartfelt soul expression to share with all of us the journey with horses. Because for those of us who live with our horses, care for our horses 24/7, run businesses, have other lives as well, and then learning how to balance that at a very high level of energetic sophistication is part of that journey, right? And the journey that you described with us is honest. I mean, we go through that when we're the ones on the property caring for them, day and night, and wanting the best, and having a spiritual not just relationship but union with them. So I don't want to.
It's been dysfunctional. It's also been dysfunctional. That's the aha moment I had that I'm sharing, and I feel really vulnerable because it's a dysfunction though. It's like that Sunday when legend came through me and all this kind of came together. I'm like, I just had this huge epiphany, how dysfunctional, how beautiful my relationship with the Trinity, but also dysfunctional, and if I can help anyone, because I certainly have worked with plenty of students who have dysfunctional relationships with their horses too. And, you don't see it when you're in it. It's so hard to see it when you're in it. And to understand, how good or how bad it was. And I want to leave that, not to be rude and interrupt you, Lydia. I've seen a lot of people, because I deal more with, as an instructor and horse trainer, I deal more with the students with horses than the students that come to you for the energy healing. So I've just seen a lot of dysfunction.
Now you're in my
turf. It's not fair to the horse.
Now you're in my turf because you're talking dysfunction family. My expertise is alcoholism. Really, I've lived it. I've recovered from it. I've sponsored in all forms of it. Right. I've known it from all the angles. And this is. But to me, this is different. This isn't horses coming to us in dreams. This is horses coming to us in awakeness. We're
to save us. Yeah, they all chose me. They all chose me.
I haven't had a dream I remembered since 2007. I know the year they quit. So my experience was I was sitting on the front porch, and my good friend Yvonne actually had called me to get sober, and she just died recently, but she was still alive, and I was waiting for her to want to pick me up. And I was sitting on my front bench looking north, and in my awakeness, Caroline's horse, Smokey, came to me and said, "I am Tate." And I have always heard dead people and stuff, I see them. I don't see a whole family that needs to talk to their family. That's not how this works for me. I hear things in short sentences or color or a vibration or an energy. Okay, so I know it's her horse that I've never met because I have been watching teaching videos of this horse and her together. I know what that energy feels like. I know that well. And here is a horse coming to me and saying something as stupid as, "I am Tate." And I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, what do you mean by that? Well, here's the deal. I lost a horse tragically when I was young. And my cousin Tate came all the way from the East Coast to Idaho to stay with my parents when I was starting the 7th grade. I got scarlet fever. I had lost a horse, and there was a lot going on. My sister had run away. I felt abandoned. There was so much. And Tate came, and he was my spiritual guide through this. This is a young man who comes from a Christian evangelistic family that tried to get me to get reborn and all of that. but he never forced any of that on me. He always told me, trust yourself, your own intuition. So here is this person coming to me in horse form saying he's my new spiritual guide.
Yeah.
And keep watching from Caroline, because I'm right here. I never have gone. I've never left. I'm still your spiritual guide. I come to you in many forms, not just human form. So that was really cool. Like, yeah, that's, and it gets more and more and happens all the time, more frequently, the more I practice Taoism with horses. This practice, this 12-step practice that parallels a 12-step recovery practice that somebody else came up with in 1939 for people that had no way out of drinking, right? So people who are addicted to alcohol don't just quit drinking. They can't just will this thing that happens. Yeah. So there's a whole spiritual thing that has to happen, and it's a psychic change. And Caroline developed a psychic change for the horse. Bill and Bob developed a psychic change for the alcoholic or the addict.
Mhm.
It's really neat how
It's all healing.
all
It's
the
all
dots
about
are
healing,
getting
and
connected.
recovery.
Yeah, all the dots.
Yeah, it's great because I mean that's how I started the program. I started my work to heal the horses that I had and to heal myself, and that's how it all came together. And then as we're healing, I'm learning all these wonderful techniques and ways of being, and how do you develop your horse, on the ground and in riding. So it all became this full circle. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I have one more quick story about Legend too, you guys. So Wednesday, I wrote this down so I remembered. I was on vacation. My husband and his son, my stepson, and we went to one of our favorite places. Lydia, you knew this because I'd emailed you. Both Lydias. I was in Siesta Key where we got married. We love it down in Siesta Key, Florida. So it's not Key West, it's Siesta Key. It's on the Gulf side and it's by Sarasota. It's right outside of Sarasota. We love the vacation there. And they went ahead because I had some work to do. So I didn't get there until Wednesday. And my husband and I are two really strong, dynamic personalities. And we are continuing after 13 years of being together, figuring out how to work together. And sometimes it's better than others. And so when I arrived, there's a lot of happiness, of course, and excitement. I'm here. And but I'm not in the right frame of mind. And I'm very independent. And I kind of just need my space to decompress because I'd been working really hard and into the evenings the 2 nights prior when they weren't there. I took advantage of that time to get caught up on some work. And so we weren't gelling. And, it's disappointing, I'm sure, for my husband because, weren't you excited? Come on. Yeah. And I'm just like, hey, I just need some space. And so he got irritated, and that followed into the evening, bickering, little stupid bickering and picking. And we did not fight, which is really good. But we went to bed with that tension. And I remember lying in bed and calling for my guides, my horses, my Trinity spiritual guides, and specifically whoever wanted to show up. And it was Legend. This is the beginning of the rest of our vacation here. I don't want it to start like this. And I could kill him. He frustrates me so much. This is so unnecessary, and you just get so frustrated. And I'm like, please help me. Please help me that when we wake up in the morning that, we just start with and it is mindset too. It is mindset. Don't get me wrong. We can choose to have that mindset. But during the night, Legend came to me, and he came to me in a beautiful dream. And he was showing me how to groom him differently. You'll see the metaphors throughout all of this. So here's this beautiful little red bay Arabian. And I just remember looking at his beautiful little body. I just couldn't wait to touch it. and he was smiling. And he's like, that's right. Come to me with love. Touch me like you always touch me, with your heart in your hands. Touch me softly. Just be patient. All these words, and I'm just welling up with tears in my dream because I'm so excited to be with him and I can feel him. He's there. And when I woke up the next morning, I felt reborn, I didn't wake up angry, didn't wake up stressed out. I was like, I just woke up before Kurt next to me. I woke up before my husband, just reliving the way I felt. It was so powerful and so positive. And yes, the tears were just streaming down my face because I'm like, my horse came to me. I could feel him. And it just changed everything. I just went, made some coffee. Kurt got up and I was refreshed. It just changed. That whole vibration within me just changed. And that is all that was needed. I didn't need to say anything. It just set a different tone, a different energy. He was very receptive. I could tell that he's very intelligent, my husband, and very in tune. And I believe he appreciated that. And that was it. But I've never called upon my horses like I have recently, you guys. That's the newest thing for me. It's something that I think, being with them every day for so many years, we had these exchanges. I didn't have to ask them to come to me in dreams because they were always here. But since they've left, and I have felt such a deep loneliness and ache, when Legend left especially, it was hard enough when Smokey was the first, but when Legend left, I was like, oh my God. So I started to go to bed with a mindset, and anyone can do this, with the mindset, because I wasn't a believer in this format. I'm the believer where, hey, we talk every day because we see each other every day. I was used to that conversation in the flow. So now I'm going to bed going, okay, I'm supposed to call my horses, supposed to call Smokey, and now call Legend, who aren't here anymore, to come talk to me. I don't know if I believe in this, but it is real. I mean, it doesn't happen all the time, but it happens every time I ask for it. It happens. And that's beautiful, that they will come to me in a dream or come to me in a song, and I will feel them. It's not up here. I feel them in my heart. I've woken up, my two labs picture behind me that passed away. We buried them 5 years ago. God, they came to me, especially the yellow one. He was my soulmate dog, right through me. And I would just wake up bawling because you're like, where did you go? But they were happy, and they wanted me to know that they were in a great place, my dogs, and they were very happy. That's all I got.
Thank you for that heartfelt sharing, and it touches all of us. We understand from our own experiences that type of love, right? And that type of connection. And I could do a whole masterclass on what you just said. Maybe we'll just kind of go with the flow when it comes to So to reflect on a couple of things that you said in the dream. Well, first of all, I remember when we were exchanging emails, you had said that you hadn't yet had the horses come to you specifically in dreams in that way on a regular basis. And now you're experiencing that. So this is really shows how your own energy is evolving from where you were to where you want to be, right? Which is about what you're saying with you felt the relationship with your Trinity in some aspects was perhaps dysfunctional. But perhaps we won't talk about that. But it was perfect for what it was supposed to be, right?
Yes, I agree. Yes.
Yeah, so you didn't go into it with a mindset of, I'm going to use their spiritual power, to heal my dysfunction. I mean, it was a natural unity of energy and heart and soul and consciousness for that purpose at that time. So we always want to release self-blame, but have the awareness that you have now. So reflecting back, you can see how it could evolve into something greater, which are the horses you're working with now in a more in a different frequency of your own evolution. But it's the most powerful of the beings that can come into the places, the people's hearts, the places on earth, to help shift the energy from the most difficult vibration or circumstance. So your Trinity and you were very powerful to be able to co-create what you did together. And that was perfect. Right? That was perfect.
Yeah.
But
Thank you.
yeah. But you were saying that when you heard the song, when you were going into a type of panic when your horse was colicking, right? And you heard the song and you suddenly felt centered and connected, right? And you were conscious, you could make choices. And the same thing with the dream that you after the dream with your horse, you said nothing needed to be said. You were just back in your center. And so this is one of the gifts from the divine that we receive, and that is pure, highly aligned energy. So I have been told, and I've also read through, or heard about through other channel messages, that when we ask for help from the divine, from the horse spirits or whoever, that the first thing that is shared is energy. Because they want us to empower ourselves. And the greatest way to do that initially is by adding energy to us. So there's 3 fundamental steps in creating energy, and that's to strengthen your energy, and that's to clear your energy, and that's to align your energy.
Oh, I love it.
So when we have energy added to us from the divine, from the infinite, and that can be from the spirit world to the material world, or that can be through a channeler, like I'm a Reiki practitioner. So I that's what I do when we add energy, to another person or animal or the planet, and I'm the pipeline. That's fundamentally what Reiki is. We're just adding energy to enhance and facilitate, to support the energy of that other being. So you receive divine energy from those that you are divinely connected to help bring you back into your own power. And that was in both cases, when you heard the song and you were panicking about, and then all the doubts and all the questions come forth in a flash, like what's happening? Should I be doing this? What have I been doing wrong? It comes in a flash because it's meant to be clear in a flash, right? It's another.
It does come in a flash. That is what it felt like. Wow.
It's always in a flash.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was meant. So if you look at that incident, yes, you had to deal with it. I mean, we've all dealt with that, living on our farms, all sorts of unexpected crises. You go out to feed the horses and a fence is down, or a horse has a nail through its leg, or something that you couldn't have prevented. It's always, I don't say always, but I don't want to put that out there. But
I think it's always meant for the moment. It's not meant for the past or the present. It's meant for the moment.
Yeah. And so when that happens, and we are then given an opportunity to step into our power in a greater way, all the residual tethers from our old imprint, from our old patterns, are going to come up to be released again through the intensity of that moment. And it comes in a flash, and then you ask for help consciously. When I was a kid, I used to say, well, if you're so highly evolved, why should I even ask? You should know I need help, right? Like, so like, you guys should know. Like, don't tell me I have to ask. like, isn't that kind of grade one? Like, so I had to kind of get on the program on Earth, right? And say, okay, I'll ask, right? And it's like, you should know when I need help because we're connected, right? Like, so.
Yes, I get that. That's new for me. That's new for me. Like, I'm like, but it's almost like a self-sabotage when I personally think like that. Well, you should know. And it's like,
Or
you're right, though. It's like,
cancels it.
well, it's like I guess it comes back to what we're talking about, a higher level of consciousness, though. It's like I feel like I have to get to that place where I have to ask for whatever reason. There's a grace in that. There's a level of connecting that to what I'm feeling and understanding on a greater level that will allow the release to happen. Like, I have to go through that piece of it. I can't just say, well, you should know, you fix it, because I'm not at the level of consciousness or awareness. Once you ask, though, it takes you to I feel different. It takes me to a totally different place. Like I did when I was sobbing in Lovey's body on Sunday, and I asked for help. And like you said, Lydia, it is a flash. Both of you said it's a flash. And I'm like, oh my God, that is exactly, with flashes of lots of things were coming up, and all of a sudden they were gone. They were released. And then I feel like I won't go back there again. I won't have to go back there again and repeat that. It was let go. I learned something.
At that level. So everything is a spiral, right?
Yes.
All energy moves in a spiral. So we keep repeating or having similar experiences that we want, that no longer serve us, of a frequency, until it's completely gone. And each time it's lesser and lesser. So I say I do deep healing, but used to take 3 years for you to process, becomes 3 months, becomes 3 weeks, becomes 3 minutes, or 3 hours and 3 minutes, becomes 3 seconds, and then it's gone.
Yes.
And then that's when you are really living in a more of a Taoist non-attachment state, for that aspect of self that you have been learning about and wanting to release. And so again, it's sort of like the garden and weeds in the garden. Like, you can pull the weeds out of the garden, but until you get all the roots, that weed will pop up again way far away at the end of the garden in 2 years. And you're like, I thought I dealt with that weed. I thought I dealt with it, but there was still a little bit of residual frequency left. And the universe will always give us opportunities to heal, grow, and evolve, right? And then when an opportunity arises, sometimes it is in a crisis, then there's another chance to release, strengthen, we're clearing and aligning and coming back into the true frequency that we are now in. But we don't want to beat ourselves up if we still find there are tethers. I call it living in the shadow of the imprint. When there's a tether that still needs to be released, it's not really bothering us. We know about it. And then suddenly it reappears, but then we're more conscious. We're more aware of the state we're in. And then we know, okay, this is just part of the spiral of healing and releasing. And this is just another part of the letting go. But your connection with your horses spiritually is divine. I mean, we don't want to, the more conscious we become, then the more we're aware of those subtleties. But when you're a Trinity and you came on Earth together, that was exactly what you were meant to do together.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm good with that. I'm not beating myself up about that, but wow, the legacy they will leave behind, with the work and the teaching. Yes, Lydia.
I want to talk about the ask, because to me, it's really important that people don't assume, well, you should help me because because the ask is the invitation to help. Like,
it opens it up.
There could be 10 dead souls around you wanting to help you, and you're giving them the F you. They can't help you. They might want to help you in all kinds of ways, but if you aren't listening, they can't help. They can only orbit. That's my experience, is that I had to realize that myself. Like, I have to ask or they don't show up. And they might knock on actually, I get knocks from them when you guys aren't listening. Like, that's when they come to me in a vibration or an energy. And it's because they're knocking at your door and you can't hear them knocking at your door going, hey, I want to help you. I'm out here wanting to help you. I'd like to arrange some things for you, but are you there? And then all of a sudden, oh, she can hear me. And they go, and they pop in and they give me a sentence or a nudge that I can nudge you with. And then you go, oh, that's real. And I'm like, yeah, it's real. They're really showing up. Anyway, so that's my little 2 cents worth to back up. Look at
Look at your kitty
level,
cat.
right? And we're all relating what feels right for us. So there's the ask, and then there's the ask, and then there's the ask, right? There's the conscious ask, there's the ask from the ego, there's the ask from the soul.
Mhm.
I mean, there's the ask from the heart, right? There's conscious, subconscious, communication. So the point is to stay in that connection consciously, and asking is a conscious. We're conscious of what we need in the moment, right?
Yes, it opens the door. I think it's the key that opens the door. If we don't get to that point where we ask, we don't reach that next place of, which is releasing or letting go or finding the answer or feeling like you've got an understanding. That's my experience with it, that I've got so many personally myself. I have so many, as I get older, I see this more and more. I have so many walls still, not defensiveness, defense mechanisms, but walls, that I've put up for so long as from my childhood. And I understand, but it's just interesting when I'm like, why can't you just ask? Just ask. And what do they say? You shall receive, and you still have to be conscious or present enough to see what's being shown to you. But still, I think that for me, that big aha on Sunday was, I asked and it was the key, and bam, he came in like as fast as he could. I'm right here for you. I'm right here. And it is different. I feel the energy from the Trinity is healthier. It's different. Like I said, when Sundance passed, there was a liberation for me. They were my training wheels, they were my wings. I relied on them way too much. There was too much codependency still. And now I'm like, oh my God, I have to do this. I can do this. And I'm not going to cripple my next generation of horses, to the best of my ability. I'm not going to cripple them, mentally, obviously not physically or emotionally. So yeah, it's pretty, wow. It's just
working on ourselves.
Sitting with all of it. It's sitting with all of it. What, hon?
That's why we're always working on ourselves and evolving so that we can be with them for who they are and who we are.
Yeah,
it's pretty lifestyle now. As we go forward on the planet, those who are interested in really living a soul-based life and getting to really understand who they are, it's really healing and personal development as a lifestyle, not just when we're in crisis or not just when we're trying to recover. It's an ongoing integration.
A choice.
Yeah, it's a choice. It's an interest. And healing as a lifestyle, or personal development as a lifestyle. I mean, that's what I do. I mean, I'm immersed in it 24/7, and you keep expanding from where you are. And it's very interesting, Caroline, what you said about when one of your horses said, I have to go now, right? There's I don't know if he said an opening or a time.
Yes, he said, this is my opening. I cannot stay. And I'm screaming. And the vet's looking at me and Janine's looking at me, and I'm just going, I'm screaming, and he's screaming back, and I'm screaming at him. And I'm like, no, you have to stay. You're not done yet. What are you talking about? And he's like, no, this is my opening. This, like a portal. This is my opening. And I'm taking your husband's cancer with me. So,
well, yeah. And so we don't really know in our, the frequency of the material world always the multidimensional complexities of our lives, right? Because we're all multidimensional beings, and so are the horses. And so sometimes you hear about, like, I know a few years ago in our neighborhood, there was one day in the summertime when several horses in the community suddenly left. And one of them was mine, and it was devastating. It was completely devastating. And then I found out later, through channel messages and the horses that came, they said there was a special portal that was open, and we were being called to the other side, and we had to go. Like, we had to go. That was our opportunity to have really a beautiful spiritual birth into the higher realms. And even though some of those horses said they didn't feel everything was done, but that things change in the spiritual world as much as they change in the material world. But it's always in alignment. And so sometimes there are those unexpected moments where somebody, a person or an animal or a horse has to leave. And it's devastating for sure. But if they express that to us, then that is a higher calling, for them. And I've worked with many, as you know, my specialty for most of those 25 years was helping clients with cancer. And I've worked with many clients where a pet, like one pet in the house, would essentially take on that energy and pass away while the person was healing. Now, I've just been the observer of that. I didn't have any idea of what was going on. But we don't really know the soul mission, right, of all the animals, and they do. I mean, we don't even know ourselves. Humans can't even know ourselves.
All of my mentors have left on President's Day years apart.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
President's Day.
My
Wow.
mother.
What
my
a portal.
Mother, my father, and the man that taught me falconry and science. The one that told me all the ones that told me what my purpose was here left on President's Day. And that is different days of the month, right? It moves around. President's Day does. And so did those. Yeah, with the day. Whoa, be careful if you're my mentor. Caroline.
Well, I'm still here. Well,
we're not anywhere close to February either.
Oh my gosh.
What relates to one of the universal principles is everything that has a beginning has an end. And even though life is eternal, and even though our souls are eternal, the way in which we manifest and support each other, everything changes. That's another principle, right? Change is the constant of the universe. So this is all part of the flow of living in the flow of universal energy. And this is the change that's happening, the big paradigm shift that's happening over the next several decades and onward on our planet, is to release that need for intellectual control and to some degree intellectual understanding. I mean, we need to have some knowledge, like you were sharing about colic and about functional things and like physiology and that sort of thing. But we're evolving and we are returning back into the awareness of our multidimensional selves. And it's quite a process. I mean, we're all having experiences that are initiating us into our greater wholeness. And with the knowing that everything that has a beginning has an end, right? In terms of the nature of our manifestation, while being conscious that we are in an eternal flow and oneness of energy, right? There is no separation. And this is something that I came to realize in my own healing, but it's a teaching of the ancient, of the ancient spiritual philosophers, and our modern world has taught us that you excel through specialization, through intellectual dominance, through mastering your mind. Now, I support mindset for sure. I completely support mindset, but mindset is the first step towards flow state, right? And then we're just learning how to live in flow state. Where a lot of the animals, in this case, I'm talking about horses, they already know. I mean, they already, like, your horse knew
naturally
to help release the cancer, and that she had to go through that portal. And it's not to say, like we said before, they don't feel trauma or they don't feel suffering and pain on the earth plane, but they continue in the midst of that. They remember who they are as high spiritual beings. They remember their soul mission. And that's why they have the patience. Sometimes
More like they don't forget.
Sorry?
I think it's more like they never forget.
Yeah, that's right. That's
They
right.
have to remember, they never forget.
Yeah, that's right. They never lost that, where humans, it has been trained out of humans at a young age to not value the spiritual connection. I mean, that's why the word woo-woo, is around. Well, you can call it whatever you want, but woo-woo is the essence of the universe. Woo-woo is universal energy. And people
I love it.
people can discuss it in a derogatory way, but that's just reflecting their own separation from the oneness of life. It's a defense mechanism. Like, I don't denigrate people who pride themselves in their intellectual prowess. So why would they denigrate others for connecting with spiritual aspects? So intellectual. Intellectual comes from a place of insecurity, right? And so we carry on, but the horses, sometimes
arrogance, insecurity or arrogance.
Well, yeah, but they're so related, right? The two are so related.
Yeah, it is, but the people that are arrogant would never think they're insecure, and vice versa. But that is what kills our earth, and that's genocide. That's what creates every evil out there, is what we're talking about. Levels of arrogance, levels of insecurity, greed, too much intellectual, intellectualizing, and it's scary. It's really scary.
I would say the human mind the human intellect can justify anything.
Yes.
And that is a tragedy.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
a great point.
Themselves into anything, and then they feel self-justified in whatever they're doing. And that's a complete and total disconnect from the soul and the oneness of life. And this is what we're here to help humans
the flow
with.
Yeah.
So was that beautifully put. Every beginning has an end?
Sorry?
Well, yeah.
Let's 5.
Yeah, no, I'm going to go through them real quick. To catch us up with the 12. So, we left off a couple of weeks ago with your 12 ancient principles, which is a roadmap. I'm just going to give everyone who isn't familiar with this a little brief summary so we can catch up where we left off. So these 12 ancient principles of this is Lydia's high performance wellness coaching, are the roadmap to mastering your inner power and health, managing your energy and stress, and reclaiming your sovereignty. They teach us the art of living, knowing when to apply oneself and when to pull back, how to create true balance and abundance. And to get started, reflect on any one of these principles. And so in our last podcast, number 1 was everything is energy. Number 2, energy never lies. You can't fool Mother Nature. Number 3, for every problem, there is a solution. Number 4, everything that happens to you is what you lack. All that is antagonistic, unbearable is complementary. And then you started just now, Lydia, with number 5, we had number 5 the last time, everything that has a front has a back. The bigger the front, the bigger the back. Then you started just now with number 6, everything that has a beginning has an end. Number 7, everything changes, AKA change is the constant, yes, of the universe. And then let's talk about number 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12.
Well, we can introduce them, but I mean, staying in the flow, of our
Yes.
conversation.
Yes, the conversation, yes.
Yeah, I mean, you've shared so magnificently, Caroline, the incredible experience and journey of living our lives with the hearts and souls of horses. And for everyone who's listening, it is a huge, beautiful experience, and also a huge responsibility, and also an incredible way to co-create with the divine, and to help. It's like a fast track, right, of your own personal growth to live with horses. Because as you were saying, when you've had those moments where you called on the spirits of horses for support and for guidance, you evolved, right? You were able to release tremendous aspects of self that we no longer need. Like we're on a fast track right now. There's exponential growth, opportunity for exponential growth on the planet, for those who are interested.
Yeah.
To experience the phenomenal joy and security and stability of returning to our wholeness. It is so phenomenal. And being with horses in this kind of way is a huge aspect of that for those who embrace that. And with animals, but horses, I mean, I know I've been caring for senior special needs horses for over 25 years. And as you said last time, you're in the middle of planning something, and then suddenly something happens, and then your whole life changes. All your plans changed because your first priority is the love and care of those horses. But as you said, it teaches you to be in that moment. It teaches you to enjoy. That's what you mentioned last time, to enjoy the experience. Like you're saying, you create your experiences. And then to realize that whatever you were working on ends up being, it was better that you did it later anyways. That's what I've learned. It's like, even though I plan to do something, when I come back to it weeks or months or years later, or whatever it is, I'm so grateful I didn't do it then, because it was to be dealt with later. So that intervention of, or change of plans of a horse needing help, right? And we're the steward of the horse in the physical plane, then that was meant to be, so that that horse could heal, and that I could also heal, grow, and evolve. So I look at it differently now, right? As a horse steward, as a horse owner, that how our daily lives shift is what the journey is. It really teaches you non-attachment. It really teaches you to learn how to be sensitive and conscious, bring in the spiritual aspect, live from the intuition and knowing. And then there's all the knowledge, like you were saying about colic or about an injury, right? Or about how to heal with the vets, how to heal holistically, how to work with the vets and holistically, right? Like this is really a huge undertaking for those of us who honor horses and have reverence for them, because we took them out of their natural environment. Most horses can't go into some beautiful lake or body of water in clean mud and stand there for 6 hours and heal their joints or heal their wound. So we have to provide that for them, so I never come from the mindset like, oh, well, I pay for your food, so the least you can do, is not X, Y, or Z. I mean, imagine if I were like essentially, a prisoner. I mean, we love our horses. We don't think of them as prisoners, but I'm totally dependent as a horse or as a human in I would say the dolphin world. Like I'm totally dependent on that human for every aspect. And yet I'm also here to completely love them and support them unconditionally. So what a high spiritual being, to have the patience and the inner knowing to be dependent. I mean, I like one of my big things, because I was ill as a child, I don't like being dependent, right? I want to have my ability to make my choices and to live the life that I want to live. And I just can't imagine being dependent on one person for every aspect of my existence, right? And then still have the spiritual knowing and evolved state of being to love them unconditionally.
That's a good point too, you just made about being so dependent. I think, bringing this conversation down to on a practical level for people that have horses. And I love the word steward. I hate the word ownership, just like I hate the word training. We're developing. It's not training. But on a more practical level, there's two things I wanted to point out in our conversation, honing this in. It's like, this is part of being in the now. This is what we're talking about, being in the now, being attuned, being present to your horse's needs. And I know a lot of people board their horses, or if you have them in your backyard, you're limited to space, you're limited to finances still. I'm going to jump for a minute. I also believe horses choose to come. I am a firm believer, 100%, you guys, that we don't choose our horses. They choose us. I so believe they are messengers sent from another planet. And I've said this before in other podcasts. I don't believe they're of this earth. I believe they're from the heavens. I believe that they are from a different portal, a different spiritual realm, aliens, whatever you want to call it. They're not from this earth. In all the years and thousands of people I've worked with and horses, I've seen the same pattern. I've seen these horses come in the stories that we talk about, because it's me, and people will open up and they know that they can share these crazy woo-woo-y thoughts. And I'm here to say they're not woo-woo-y. Look at the pattern here. And these horses choose us, and they come to us as messengers. It's up to us whether or not we want to be open, or even if we can't be open, perhaps they're just there to support us and give us whatever comfort we need during this period in our lives. But in layman's terms, on a practical level, the least we can do is the best we can do to meet their needs. We've confined them, we've influenced them, we've made them dysfunctional on so many levels, both mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. And it's a tough request. It's a tough process, but it can be done one step at a time. It's like the more you immerse yourself in this lifestyle, in this choice of thinking this way, and allowing yourself to feel this way, and supporting yourself with people that support you in this journey, then the horse has so much to say. My horses have so much to say all the time. The more you listen, the more voice you give them, and the more they understand that, and that is meeting their needs. It's like, I think for me, like you just said, Lydia, when you were giving the example of none of us, I don't want to be dependent either in any which way. But think of the horse as being such, the dichotomy or the duality of the horse, should I say, is they travel naturally in herds, and they're very, in a healthy way, interdependent and dependent on each other, but they're also free and wild and independent and magnificent in that strength. And there's that duality. They need both, and here we've put them in a situation where they can't make any choices for themselves. They can't forage for what they need when they have an upset belly. They can't pick their friends. They can't pick where they want to go. They can't pick what they want to do. And so the other aspect of bringing this back to horsemanship, this conversation, is for all of you that know me or don't know me, this is how I develop horsemanship. This is how we become one, we move as one, and we ride as one with horses. And it is this beautiful, it is this magical. You can achieve every level of discipline, every level of riding, every level sport you want. But if we do it according to the horse, we will have the most divine experience, because the horse is so giving, and they will hold us on their backs like they have wings. They will take care of us and we will fly with them. I have experienced this with my horses. You guys have seen it on my YouTube channel, in my videos. You see this, it's real. It is attainable. There is this I don't want to say juxtaposition. It's we've got to get to that step though, where we unlock that door, where we open ourselves up. As I say, the Tao of Horsemanship is the way to all possibilities with horses. You must open yourself and your mind. You must open your heart. You must take that first step to believe that this is possible. And it's just, it's the least we can do. It's the least we can do. Yes.
I want to speak to it about Prophet, because it's so recent. Remember, like I had been teaching him yields, and he's like giving me the FU, right? He's like, no, FU.
He's still young, and he's still young. Yeah, he's got that. Like, and I want him to be young. But let me wait. I'm going to back up and say, he's not just young, though. This is who his personality is. Everyone stereotypes that he's young. And I just did the stereotype. Oh, he's young. He'll grow out of that. You don't want him to grow out of that.
Yeah, there's more to it, though.
No.
So Cochise gets sand colic. I have to get mats and sweep and put the food in and all of that. A year ago, I spent months teaching him yields as best as I could without creating frustration and a bad.
And for those, tell people what you mean by yields. You're talking about steady pressure and getting him just to move away from you when you touch him.
Yes, skin to muscle to bone and still not moving. Bam, 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 still not moving and looking at me like, can you hit me any harder? And I'm like, Jesus. But when I had to start sweeping sand off the mats around him for food, I could go like this and he'd move over. He got it. He learned it, but there wasn't a reason to move over until he saw one. And then he was like, oh, that's what you want? Okay. You need to
That's
sweep?
beautiful.
I'll get out of your way.
No, that's so important, Lydia. Thank you for sharing that, because so many people can identify.
Yeah. I gave it up. She was talking about timing. And when I got back to it, guess what? The timing was perfect.
Yeah.
He was ready.
Yeah, that's a deep one. Because how many of us have been told a horse is stubborn, willful, being dominant, being a brat, being pushy, being all these negative behaviors, when how do we know what the horse is thinking? And why don't we figure out what the horse needs to learn? What is it that this horse needed to learn? Or how can you make the learning work for them?
Yeah.
So that they understand. And you don't have to get forceful with them and stronger with them. Yeah, that's beautiful.
It's been so cool.
It's like a big opinion.
Part of those spiritual laws or whatever we're looking at.
Yeah. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Awesome.
So Lydia, to wrap this up, my dear, our beautiful guest speaker, number 9, I think we had number 8, there's nothing identical for your 12 principles, universal principles. Nothing is identical.
No two horses are the same.
Exactly. Yes. Isn't that the truth? That's in horse development or horse training. It's like, to me, there's like a universal education. I'd like all my horses I think it's important that they learn certain things, just like us, to function and be well-rounded. And what's the word I always say? Versatile, that they can do anything because they trust you, they have confidence, they're self-regulated. So, but it's no two horses are alike. So you can take the same exercise, the same lesson, and apply it to all these horses, but no two horses is the same. They're not going to learn the same way. And that's where people get hung up with horse training, is they're like, well, you've got a program, Caroline, and not, I've had professionals say this to my face. You have a program, and not, there is no one program that works for every horse. And I'm like, yes, there is. We all go to school and we all learn the same things in the same county, the same state, the same country, just about the same world. We have the same kind of curriculum when we go to our elementary levels of education until we choose to specialize. We all are learning generally the same things so we can all get around in this world and have the same level of education understanding. But each horse-like person is an individual, and it's up to us to figure out how they learn best and how to help them learn that lesson that they need to learn, so that we can have that language and that level of communication. Number 9, divine alignment is divine timing. Oh my, yes.
Yes. Well, we could talk about all of them, but we'll just highlight them. And then 10 is you're only as strong as your weakest link. So that's a whole other conversation. So
yes,
when we become aware,
we're not done.
Yeah. So when we become aware of what it is that we need to support ourselves the most with, then we can achieve our potential. So my just briefly, my journey having physical, challenges from birth was my weakest link. So until I learned how to support myself or heal myself in that way, and I continue to have to support myself, it's my first priority is to make sure that I eat my macrobiotic healing food. I don't deviate from that. I know what my weakest link is. And as long as that weakest link is fully supported, then I can blossom. I'm not constantly collapsing. For other people, it could be emotional, mental. A lot of people, it's spiritual. There's the 4 pillars, right? Mental, emotional, physical, spiritual. But that's an awareness for each person. And then yin and yang are greater than willpower is number 11. And what does that really mean? So when Lydia was talking about, addictions and that sort of thing, that I've worked with many clients. I've worked with many clients with so-called addictions and frequencies with that. And we want to understand that the principles in the order of the universe are greater than just pushing through or willpower. Mm-hmm. And when we shift our frequency and can work with those principles, then anything like addictions are much, much easier to work with, because again, we release that self-blame and then embrace self-responsibility, and then the tools that we bring in to support that. And so I have a whole discussion around principle number 11, but yin and yang are greater than willpower, meaning the principles that govern life are universal and our mind cannot override them. We think we can, but we can't, because we're not just mental beings. We're not just intellectual beings. So I always say, I haven't met a person yet who can meditate or set an intention to stop the rotation of the earth. I haven't met that person. And I support mindset. Don't get me wrong. I've worked with it since I was 10, but it's not the only aspect. Or like, the law of attraction is so popular. That's only one principle, right? There's many others. It's not. So as a very brief example, if there are things coming to you in your life that are difficult or challenging, did you attract it because you need to work on that? Or maybe you attracted it because you have become so strong and got to the next level that you're able to support people who have that challenge or help shift that energy. Maybe it's not a reflection of you, of a mirror to you, that you need to deal with that. Maybe it's the opposite, right? Maybe it's the fact that you can hold the space like a horse and hold a sacred space for others who are in all sorts of different states, of being. I don't want to say fragmented, but that's kind of, in states of struggle, because you have the strength to help them, and it's no reflection on you at all. So the law of attraction has its merits, and it's certainly valuable, but it's not the only principle that governs life. So again, like I don't know anybody who can just really set their mind to it and jump off an office building and fly. Like, I don't know that person.
That is beautifully put. Oh, I love it.
So that's why we have
number 11. Go ahead.
No, that's fine. We're just cutting out a lot. I don't know if you can hear me, but I don't know if it's my Wi-Fi, but I can hardly hear you guys. So
yes. Oh, sorry. No, you are cutting out and you are freezing a little bit. And I know Lydia was doing that a little bit too. It just is what it is. Don't worry about it. We can't help that when we do these, long distance and country to country. But yeah, number 11 is huge. I can definitely see my life. The yin and the yang are greater than willpower. I pushed through so much for so many years to get to this place in my work, and I burnt myself out. And I'm coming back to that yin and yang, that balance, and allowing that balance and that flow state to be my guide versus my intellect saying, you need to achieve this and then get to this and then get to this, and this will get you there. I'm like, no, go back to your roots, go back to your intuition, go back to aligning yourself and finding that balance. And that duality, the yin yang are duality, there's contrast to everything. Don't fight them. I'm so, whether I've been taught or it's my nature, just push through it, make it happen. Yeah, that's pretty powerful for me. Pretty powerful.
Well, that can work to some degree. I mean, that's a phenomenal quality. So, when I work with clients, I always say we don't want to change. And also when I work with my wild Mustang Spring Rose, I said the same thing to her. She likes it. We don't want to change who you are. We want to develop, as you're saying, developing relationships with horses is training. We want to expand and develop who we are and bring our strengths. The ability to push through is a phenomenal strength and a phenomenal quality. And then you want to balance it, right?
Yes.
With other aspects of self to bring forth. So there's never a loss. There's never a change in terms of I shouldn't be who I am. It's I want to expand more. I want to be able to push through and create balance, or know when to push through, the art of living, knowing when do I apply that, and then when do I pull back. That's the divine alignment, right? Is divine timing. Or what I was saying before, when you go out to the barn or the field and suddenly your life changes because a horse is sick or in distress, and weeks or months may take on a whole new meaning of life.
Yes.
But that is divine alignment and divine timing, because you're now in that flow state. That you've made that choice. To be the steward, to care for that horse, and you will be supported in everything else you do in life because you care for that horse. It just won't happen always immediately.
And that develops
Beautiful.
self-regulation in all of us. That process in us and in the horse develops self-regulation.
It definitely.
Yeah.
Yes, it can definitely do that.
I mean, if I can say one,
Right.
if I can briefly say one thing, we're finishing, to everyone who loves and cares for horses. If your life is difficult and, you're not sure if you can continue to care for your horse, look inside and see if there are other solutions where your horse can stay with you, because this is such a huge aspect of horses ending up at auctions. People think that they don't have the ability to care for their horse. The horse would be better with somebody else. Their horse would be better off. I'm not saying those situations don't arise. I mean, we've taken in surrender horses where owners surrendered them. to us and we give them forever life. And sometimes there are times if there's serious illness or something, but oftentimes, we're talking about the horse, being in a human world, but the horse, as Caroline was saying, has come to be with you. And they don't have to always have all the fancy stuff. They love you and they're going to help you through the crisis. They just need to have some proper care, even if it's a small little pasture. They don't have to be ridden all the time, right? They don't have to be worked all the time. I mean, at our age,
no.
We don't have to do any of that. All our horses run around when they want to, and they come inside when they want to, and if I'm more busy, if I can get help, I get help. If not, I balance that. But the horse, the horses are divine spiritual beings that have come to be with you. And it's so, don't despair if you're in a life circumstance where you think you have to give up your horse and you don't want to. It's different if you want to sell your horse, but you don't want to, because it's the spiritual connection. It's the love that the horse feels, and that you will receive the spiritual and energetic support to help you get through what you're going through. And, we all see and read, and many people listening may have gone through giving up their horse and never knowing what's happened, not knowing if they ended up in a kill lot. And so we want people who love their horses to reconsider that their horse is okay with them, as long as you can provide, the basics for them. They don't have to be in a perfect environment of, always taking them on trail rides or something. I just wanted to share that because it's a huge part of honoring yourself and honoring horses through your spiritual growth and connection.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh, amen to that. And being a steward of the horse. Yes, there are too many that go to these kill lots and these auctions and sunbun. Oh, my cat. And also, like you just said, I have not been developing my horses. I won't say developing, I've been developing them all the time, but it's on a spiritual level and on a connection level. I have not been training them. They have not learned anything new in over 3 years. And we can pick up right where we left off because of the foundation and the relationship and the connection. So there's so much you can do with horses. And both Lidia and I are available for anyone to contact us on what to do with your horse and how to continue this spiritual journey. And I can't thank both of you enough for this wonderful podcast. And we will be back. Hopefully, Lidia Kuleshnyk and I will be doing this on a monthly basis or every 4 to 6 weeks so that we can continue, spreading the word and helping it. Thank you, Lidia, helping anyone on their spiritual journey with their horses, including training, how to make your training a spiritual journey. Oh my God, yes. Yay.
I just want to plug my book. So I have the book, Evolving on Purpose, Co-Creating with the Divine, with my chapter, The Divinity of Horses, launching on Amazon on August 30th. So join our book launch event. We have free prizes. Yay. You can go to my Facebook pages, Instagram pages, and you'll find the link. And my chapter shares the story of how horses are divine beings and how we can connect with them.
Beautiful. Oh my gosh, how beautiful. Oh, congratulations. Yay. Fabulous. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Well, bless everyone. Thank you so much. Yes, Lidia.
Leave with number 12, maybe.
Oh, number 12 is the capacity principle. Know your limit, live within it. Oh, I like that. That's powerful. Yeah, well, we can dive in. We can dive into these
another time. Podcast. I don't want to go too long today, but
we gotta go.
Yeah, it's just learning how to live within your energetic capacity so you don't get overwhelmed, go back into old patterns, or get burned out.
Yep.
Yeah. What we talked about was meant to be talked about today. It was perfect.
I love the flow. I love the flow. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Awesome. All right. Thank you. Love you guys. And everyone have a great rest of your day. Thank you.